Deadlifts aren't a hamstring exercise. They use your upper back, your lower back, your grip, your glutes, and finally your hamstrings. In fact, they miss an entire head of the hamstrings, the head that performs knee flexion. So unlike a squat, where yes, the rec fem isn't fully used, it's still used. Whereas with a deadlift, the short head isn't used at all. Most people fail deadlifts due to their grip, upper back, lower back, but not always the hamstrings. It's very hard to reliably do deadlifts for your hamstrings. Often the glutes will take over. Deadlifts are also incredibly taxing, leaving little in the tank for other leg exercises. Lower body exercises already take a lot out of you as it is, especially squats. Doing deadlifts alongside squats is going to result in an incredibly taxing day, and it's no wonder that people avoid leg day for this very reason. Just like with barbell squats, barbell deadlifts require a lot of weight. That's a lot of money to invest in plates that you probably won't need. So the fact remains, why deadlift? Our glutes are covered by our squats, our upper back is covered by our pulling motions, our lower back is covered by, well, stay tuned, I'll explain how I do that, and our grip is covered by, again, all the pulling exercises. And I believe that there's a better hamstring exercise, full stop. Nordic curls. Nordic curls are the perfect complement to your pistol squats. There's very little overlap between the two, if any. They're both bodyweight, easy to load, pretty easy to set up at home. What sets Nordic curls apart from deadlifts is that they hit the entire hamstring. And when you fail a Nordic curl, the thing that's going to fail is your hamstrings, not anything else. Nordic curls also don't require any weight. The only time you may need that is if you're a freak, and even then, very little weight is required. But you may be asking, why not leg curls? Well, it doesn't really solve all our problems. The leg curl requires specialised equipment, and again, a lot of iron. You're going to need to buy a lot of weight because your legs are quite strong. With a Nordic curl, we're using our body weight, and it puts us in quite a disadvantageous position. The leverages are against your hamstrings, so you're never going to need nearly as much weight as you would with a leg curl. I believe the lack of prevalence of Nordic curls is largely due to their perceived difficulty or awkwardness to set up. Both of these, I believe, can be remedied. And it is true that once you begin doing Nordic curls, you're not going to be able to do a full negative and positive motion. You're mostly going to be limited to a small portion of the negative. However, I believe something like this medieval contraption can help you. You don't even need this. You simply need the band around your chest or holding the band. It's up to you. Bands will help you through the hardest part of the motion, which is where you're closest to the ground, where the leverage is furthest away. If you have strong enough bands, which I recommend, and I recommend the safety type of band, and also ones that have weights written on them, which helps with progressive overload, they'll help you out of the hole. Then it's just simply a case of gradually decreasing the weight as you go along. So, my setup, mostly unnecessary. It's me just making the most out of a rack that I'm not going to use otherwise. So first off, you need something to lock your feet under, like this. And this is just simply secured to the weight rack itself. Then you need somewhere to hang the bands from. They just loop over. They loop onto this harness. You don't need a harness. I like to have a harness because it leaves my arms free. And yes, you could wrap it over your chest. Again, it's more comfortable. I already had the harness. I used it for doing handstand push-ups. So you don't need to get this. You don't need to get this. You can just strap it over your chest. And like I said, the bands are wholly necessary if you're a beginner to Nordic curls, as there's such a small range of motion that's going to be effective. On the negative, it's at the top, and then there's the effective range, and then you free fall. With this, it helps you most due to the way bands work, so they're pulling the most when they're lengthened, right at the bottom. So it gives you the most help when you most need it. And again, just gradually reduce the weight, use lighter and lighter bands, and eventually you'll be able to do a full Nordic curl. So just want to reiterate, you don't need a squat rack to do this. This is just because I already had it. You also don't need the harness, you just strap the band around your chest. And also, for most people, I'd recommend just finding a sturdy door, putting the thing where you anchor your feet under the door, securing it tightly. And again, I want to reiterate, sturdy door, sturdy hinges, strong latch, ideally one you can lock, so no one's just going to come in and you flop forward. And then at the top of the door, put this between the sash and the frame, this the other side of the door, and then on your side of the door, hook the bands from this end. And what that will do is it will mean that your feet are anchored at the bottom and that the bands are pulling you upward, they're assisting you back up. And that's all you need. I've seen some creative instances of people sort of screwing those anchors to skirting boards, to walls, all sorts of things, and then attaching the bands to different places. But all you really need is a sturdy door. You don't need the squat rack. Don't make the same mistake I did. You don't need this. I do have a love-hate relationship with Nordics, mostly because they're so bloody hard, but there is a real sense of accomplishment when you do progress with them. I liken this to pull-ups. A lot of people really struggle with pull-ups in the beginning, but as they see the progress and when they finally get to a full pull-up, it's so satisfying. There's a real sense of achievement, and I feel that that's the case here too. And something I've just thought of is that starting with the full motion, the full concentric and eccentric of the exercise allows for standardized progression. It also means that there's specificity there. So you're doing the exact same movement as you will eventually do without the bands. So that means that you're going to progress faster and you're going to take the muscle for its full range of motion, which is always preferable. There is one final honourable mention, and that would be for those of you who don't have the sturdy door. They don't have any of the possible setups that you've seen around or that I've suggested. So in that case, I suggest heel slides. So for this exercise, you want to press your shoulders into the ground like this, press your heels into the sliders, and you don't want anything from your heels to your shoulders touching the ground. So allow me to demonstrate. As you extend your leg, the sliders will move out, and then you want to, as you pull in, curl your leg, you want to press into the ground as you do so, and you'll move your whole body up and down. This is pretty good, this works for a long time, but you eventually may want to plant a plate here to add weight if you've progressed past body weight, but I'll show you the movement just so you are aware of what it is. So I eventually found these quite easy, but they're fantastic to start with. I was having like 20 kilo weight plate resting on my hips, so it started to become a little bit awkward. So I decided to move on to Nordic curls, and here we are. So there you have it. Better way to overload and target your hamstrings. Not just at home, but full stop. Go forth and curl. And I'll see you next time.